Hi, Lisa. And hi, everyone joining us in this conversation today. I'm very excited to continue our conversation on culture and specifically building culture in this new world. So, I am Sara Martinez Noriega. I'm the Director of HR at Direct Agents. And joining me is Lisa Calvert. She's the Senior Vice President and Chief People Officer at Justworks. And Justworks is an HR platform that helps teams manage benefits, payroll, compliance, and more. And I know that you all are incredibly busy helping teams like ours stay really compliant and on top of all of the new legislature. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your, I'm sure, very busy schedule to chat with us today.
Thanks, Sarah. It's nice to be here. Hope I can help in a small way. This is new and different for everybody. So if I can add just one nugget of value, it's worth the time.
Awesome. Yes, I agree. I think this is one thing that like everyone can be on the same page about is that it's something that we've never lived through. So
Right.
um, with all of that, I know many of you heard the opening remarks and may have heard this number that Josh mentioned, but an unfortunate, staggering number of unemployment claims have heightened since the start of COVID-19, but to the extent that we're now at 6.6 million unemployment claims that have been filed just last week. And with that, obviously people are stressed out. They are not only worried about their health and their family's health, but they are worried about just maintaining a livelihood. Um, and with all of that in the air and businesses struggling to stay open, why are we even talking about maintaining culture? I'd love to get your take on that, Lisa.
So it is quite alarming when we look every single day at what's happening and no one has answers or even a timeline. And I think that if we stop believing that this is just a moment in time and it will pass and we ignore or forget about helping our employees through this or helping them if they're unfortunate enough to not be employed after this, then we're not doing our jobs. I mean,
Right.
culture matters right now more than anything, whether you're going through downsizing or you're just trying to maintain a remote workforce. For JustWorks in particular, we were not a remote workplace. Our belief system is that everybody comes together in person to form a community and culture. And so there's no experience at all. And we redeployed over 600 people to remote inside of 24 hours. And I will say, so far so good. We're finishing up week 5 of
Mhm.
fully remote, and it's a learning process, definitely. But it takes a lot of time and effort to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have those same beliefs in terms of our core values. We really enjoy the time that we have together. I think that there is this organic culture that is kind of just built on its own when you have an area to hang out at. So whether that's passing people in the kitchen or even on your way to the restroom, I think something as small as that is something that we no longer have. Can you tell me a little bit about what JustWorks has done in order to, or maybe just tell me a little bit about the differences between the culture that you were used to experiencing and some of the things that you're experiencing now?
So, what we're experiencing now is probably the heart and soul of what our culture really is. I have never been more proud of a group of people coming together, leaning on each other, doing the work that's needed to get done. Because as you can imagine, in what we do, we had to shift gears very quickly so that we could help our 100,000
Right.
customers understand and get access to the relief funding that's going on. And yet we had other parts of the business that were seeing a lull and not enough to do. And so we rallied people together to try and put people where the work was needed, even though the skill sets might not match up perfectly. And so I think that what I'm seeing is a group of people that are of course, afraid. I think everybody's got a level of fear and uncertainty. There's personal loss that's occurring now that's getting closer and closer. And unless you have a strong foundation of a group of people that actually care about the mission and purpose of the company, I'm not sure it would be as great. And so I feel very fortunate to work with this group of people.
Yeah, in our conversations, I remember that you all have had a lot of different, I think, levels of transparency from an AMA with your CEO, as well as weekly all hands, which direct agents has been doing too. I feel like sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, we have so many meetings, but there's this incredible level of grounding I think that it provides us, and I think it's just so important to be able to be on the same page and to be able to do this, to be face to face. I think that was something that was really important to us when we made the announcement where we had an all company meeting. We're like, okay, we're about to do this, but it's so important that we be able to see each other and still have that same connection, because there's something that you do lose from even Slack or just email. There, even the phone, you don't have that same like visual. I love that I gave the note when I was giving this um, presentation to the LA team. I could see some of them nodding with me, and I'm like, see, I see you. I know that you're on the same page with me. So it was like, it's a good feeling when you feel that connection. So I love to hear a little bit about the the reasons that you guys have decided to make sure that you are keeping that sort of dialogue, not only of a weekly all hands, but having that AMA.
So, sure. So, some tactical things that we put in place very quickly that have sustained themselves. We've modified, of course, we normally had a weekly all hands meeting, 30 minutes in the building, gather. We don't have a place for all 600 to gather, but for the most part, you could crunch together about half of the workforce and the other half would watch on recording. And we decided, okay, let's keep that. And that is a Zoom call where we can see each other. And what was happening is we felt like there was a lot to share in 30 minutes. Normally we have about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. And so we were finding over the last couple of weeks that we were running out of time, and we felt like we weren't giving employees an outlet or a voice. And so we then set up a Slack AMA with our CEO every week, the day after.
Mm.
So that then helps people think, okay, so I listened and learned in the all hands, and we do all kinds of things in our all hands. We celebrate new hires, we celebrate moves in the business, we talk about key business initiatives or what's next. It varies by week. And now people have another 30 minutes on the next day that's all just Q&A. Ask anything you want of the CEO, the leadership team. We will answer you always. And so it's giving people this rhythm of staying connected to the business. We also have a daily newsletter, and that seems heavy and it seems like a lot. However, it's short, sweet, it's bite-sized pieces of information. We have sections that are need to knows. We have Zoom etiquette or Zoom fatigue. Last week, each day, our ERGs took over the newsletter and wrote about what was important to them. And so it's really a collaborative effort. And we just publish something at the end of every day. And people look forward to kind of saying, oh, what happened today? Or what do I need to know about? So it's super fun.
I love that. I think it's so important to be able to maintain, I think, a consistency. I think right now we're in a time where there's so much uncertainty that people really do need that one thing that they know that they can look forward to every day, a place where they're going to have information. I also think it's great that you're waiting for the AMA until after the company meeting, because I think the company meeting, what we call our company meeting, is an all hands. You don't know what they're going to answer during that, but also just the news is changing every single day.
Mhm.
So that's important. I think direct agents as well as Justworks is very fortunate to have, I think, founders and senior leadership that understand the importance of culture, but unfortunately, that's not true for many, unfortunately, companies out there. So I'd love to get your thoughts on how do you get buy-in from senior leaders, from team leaders, in order to be able to build this kind of culture that is transparent, that is energized.
Yeah, that's always a tough one. The getting buy-in when you're asking that question is already the sign that you're on your back foot, especially if you're in the HR space.
Hmm.
Yes, we are fortunate to work for great companies with great foundational leadership. And yet, if you're feeling like you're on your own, I would say rather than trying to get buy in, which you can spend months, weeks, years trying to get, it's like, why you're doing what you're doing. We're in the
Yeah.
business of taking care of people. And right now, our people need us more than ever. So do what you need to do. Don't wait. Get out there, communicate, be transparent with your employees, lead with empathy
Hmm.
versus productivity. I read that the other day and I thought, oh, that's exactly right. I mean, right now more than ever, we have to admit that our productivity will probably go down and then accelerate in some other way, but it's going to be really lumpy and inconsistent. And
Right.
so right now more than ever, it's making sure that people feel good about where they belong. And if they're one of your employees, it's our job to take care of those people.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think what's really great also just about just doing it. Just
Yeah.
whatever it is, those ideas that you have, just going ahead and seeing what happens is that you will have natural people that rise up. And we call them now our culture influencers.
Mhm.
And that's just been really great to like call upon those people to maybe there's a program that we have or are trying to do that doesn't seem like it has a good turnout. Our people and ops team will just reach out to those influencers and say, "Hey, do you want to join this?" And they always say yes. But then we go to the next step, and it's like, "Okay, well, can you also invite 5 friends to come with you?"
Yep,
And
exactly.
in that way, you're able to like keep the culture going. And I think sometimes there's this I think, and it goes back to that productivity and the fear for our jobs. We're afraid that if we're not being productive, we are not like earning our keep at our company or whatever it might be. So I think there's a little bit of a fear to do something with your coworkers that isn't 100% work related. I'd love to hear a little bit of your thoughts on maybe not so much coaxing employees, but your thoughts on why it's okay to like not be working 100% of the time, which I think is such a pitfall when you are working from home because you wake up, you're at home, you're at work.
Yeah.
And same thing when you go to bed.
Well, I think what we've done is, we've in this daily newsletter that we call the Scoop, we've put out all of these the insights around Zoom fatigue.
Mhm.
I get Zoom fatigue really easy. I'm like, I can't have one more video call. I just need a regular phone call, or I just need to text with somebody. And so we've given people kind of permission to say, I'm out. I don't need to put my video screen on every single time, or let's take a phone call this time, or we built these really cool icons for our Slack channel. Well, we didn't. Our amazing design team did, of taking a walk. Not up for a Zoom call right now. And they're just these little icons that you can put next to your name to just kind of give people kind of some insight into where you're at. We also
Yeah.
did one for Mental Health Week where it said, I need help, or I'm here for you, so that if people needed to talk it out, they could do so privately. And that's been super effective as well. I just think that we have to give people just a little bit of a breather. I mean, this is, I have been through a few moments in time in my work history, and even when I say to my team or the broader organization, I feel fatigued some days. I have down days. I don't feel like I'm at the top of my game every single day. I'm processing this just like everybody else. And it's okay not to be okay sometimes. And
Yeah.
take a time out and go take a walk and not be on the clock.
Yeah, 100%. I think something that our account manager team really helped um, establish for our teams is kind of like a not so much a protocol, but a suggestion document that had when is it appropriate to do Zoom, when is it appropriate to do Slack, when is it appropriate to do a phone call or an email, to give people kind of that guidance. Because I think a lot of times especially when we are saying that we want to prioritize video when it's not something that we're used to doing, um, people can feel like, well, that must mean 120% of the time,
Right.
and we need to like help them out and figure out that's not what we mean. We just want to know what's going on with you. We want to be able to feel that same connection we had with you when you were in the office. So that's great. But going off of mental health, I think that's one of the most important areas that we need to really be cognizant and on top of for our employees right now. Can you talk a little bit about the different resources that Justworks has set up for their employees, and not just their employees? I know our teams as well.
Right. Well, we use a service called Health Advocate, which has a ton of resources. We also have some, kind of what I call the crowdsourced gathering of resources for reach out and mental health. And I think, again, it's one of those things where we had a death in our workforce a couple of weeks ago,
I'm sorry.
and unrelated to COVID, but a death nonetheless. And that, I think, jolted everybody. And so, how do we gather but not? How do we give people that were close to this person space, but also the resources they need? So, we did a number of things. Obviously, very personal relationships, those people needed a different kind of care. Health Advocate was amazing because we had the EAP do a virtual session, both group and individuals. So we made that resource available. And then some of the close colleagues actually did something extraordinary, which is still kind of chokes me up. They did an online, um, uh, sorry, just kind of celebration of life.
Yeah.
Um, and invited all employees who wanted to come and invited that person's family.
Well,
And it was so powerful and extraordinary. And so I think, again, it was about just being authentic and going through the experience. There's no right answer. There's no checklist of things you're supposed to do for mental health. There are resources, there's outreach, there's making sure people feel like they're safe. I don't know if you ever really get it 100% right, but we're trying really, really hard to be there for everyone.
I think that's the most important thing, the fact that you not only are giving people a myriad of opportunities to choose the one that works best for them. So we've been advocating a lot in terms of health advocates, specifically with Justworks. Not only that, but talk space, if that's something that people feel more comfortable with. Um, setting up these 10-minute meditations where they're still through Zoom, but your camera is expected to be off, you're expected to be muted. So it's still a community environment without it being, with it still being like a personal journey for yourself. So I think that's so inspiring to hear, and moving, the things that
One of
your team members were able to do.
Before I forget to mention, one of the things that we've discovered also over time is that the cohorts or the different types of people. So there's the, single parents, there's two income parents, there's aging parents, there's people that live at home alone, And so we've had to kind of discover these different cohorts of employees that are going through this experience completely uniquely. And as of late, we've put some emphasis on those employees that we know that live alone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of those employees are just chill. They're feeling good. They're like, yeah, I've got this. Don't worry. I've got my setup. And there are others that are just needing some reach out. And so we're getting, our arms around those people in a different way. Again, I make that point because it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
Can't kind of say, oh, everybody who's living alone is going to feel a certain way. They don't, but it's about recognizing these groups of people and they're all going through different experiences at the same time.
Right, exactly. And someone who might be living with their wife or husband or children who you think they have the support system, they might not, or they're going through something that hopefully, is unfortunate but is unspeakable. And there are families like that as well. So making sure that everyone has a different resource. But just I'd like to, in our last few minutes, turn it to a little bit more lighter, so we can end things on a maybe like fun note. And I'd love to hear a little bit about maybe some of those just for fun types of things that you all are doing. I heard about yappy hours, which we have a pet break too, but I'd love to hear about yappy hours and the different just for fun, stress, mental health, breather breaks that you guys are doing.
Well, of course, the Zoom happy hour is kind of the new thing, I think, across the globe. So there's a lot of that that goes on. There's poker games, there's all kinds of interesting card games, there's group Minecraft, there's the yappy hours for the pets to come and socialize. We just kind of let those things run. We still also do, we used to have what's called a random lunch.
Hmm.
At Justworks, once a month, we randomly select two, groups of people of about 8 to 10 people to go out to lunch together to stay connected as we've grown. And now we're doing that virtually. So we're still experimenting with that, but so far so good, where we're actually kind of randomizing and saying, okay, go out and get your lunch and sit on your Zoom and share ideas and thoughts. So that's been super fun too. I think for the most part, people are still just wanting to know, when can they come back to work? um,
Yes.
we did also, if companies can't afford it, I think offering up employees some type of a stipend to get some decent work from home equipment. That was super helpful for our employees as well. A lot of people don't have a setup, so we helped them with a few things: monitors, keyboards, etc. And that's been super helpful as well.
Yeah, that's so vital.
Question.
Sorry, what was that?
I
Oh,
think
we
I,
have a question.
I don't know how. I don't know if I have access to.
I think it's actually just a mention that we have.
Oh,
Oh, no, 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 you're right. Okay. So what if this crisis has shown fault lines in your culture, especially from leadership? Has this experience shown leadership the need to show vulnerability and admit problems of culture tracking back to them?
yes. I mean, I think these are the times that are going to show those cracks and those vulnerabilities. And if you can embrace those things, we certainly have. I mean, no company or leadership team is perfect, and there isn't a playbook to dealing with this. So I think, as we've learned, our leadership team certainly is working hard at, being honest and transparent at all times. We will tell you what we know when we know it. We're not going to hold anything back. We're leading with the empathy versus productivity. We're helping people, give them the space that they need to process and go through this at their own time. And I would say, that said, we're also, we still believe that you can't just kind of acquiesce into what's happening. There's still work to be done.
Mhm.
We still have customers to support. And so we do expect a level of performance in the workplace as well. So it's not like everybody just gets to sit back and wait till this is over. But I think, yes, there are cracks and flaws in all leaderships, and you learn from them as you go. And
Yeah,
just when you're wrong, we get it wrong.
I think it's fairly important for everyone to remember that senior leaders are great and they're important, but they are human. They do err, and it's important. One, I think, especially in teams that are open to having these kind of transparent dialogues, that you bring up those things that you see, because sometimes the senior leader might have the best intentions, in mind. And I can say that I've been on that setting where all of a sudden I say something or do something that maybe doesn't feel right with everyone. And it wasn't because I did it on purpose, but I need my people, whether those are the senior leaders, whether they're the employees on a junior level, on any level, to come and talk to me and say, hey, I didn't feel comfortable about this. I think we all are allowed to make mistakes, and but we're still accountable. I think that's something that's important. Like you said, we're all still being held to a professional expectation of, we got to keep going, to be able to keep the business running, to keep the lights on, to keep everyone employed, hopefully. But thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate all of your insights today. I think they've been excellent, and I know that we'll share some of those other resources that Justworks has been working on. You have an awesome resource document that's not only comprehensive, but also really easy to follow and won't crash your browser, which is has been a little bit of a culprit from some of the other resource docs I've seen. But everyone else, if you'd like to join the next session on the future of e-commerce, just join the link via your email or click on the link in the chat box, or I think it'll be down there. So thank you again, Lisa, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thanks so much for the
Thanks.
time. Take care, everybody.